You're learning interesting things, but you don't know when it's going to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go and do an internship, and it makes those things you've learned useful, and they will be useful in the workforce or when you have a career. So if you could say that again, just kind of a real quick, 10-second, whatever.
Yeah.
That contrast of when you're learning things in the classroom, and you wonder when they're going to be relevant, and then when you have an internship, things become useful. Those things that you learned. So. Just over again. I really liked how you phrased it.
In the classroom, you don't really know when something you learned is going to be relevant or when it's going to be useful, but using the internship experience, you use those tools and you get to remember them more clearly because they become important. They become what you do every day, and just that experience makes it so much more meaningful.
Perfect. In the same question, kind of, doing an internship, how does it make those things that you've learned? How did you get to apply the things that you learned at your internship?
I don't really understand. Sorry.
Okay, some of the things that you learned in class,
Mm-hmm.
how did they apply? How were you able to apply them? Or was there any moment when at your internship that you felt like, wow, this is something I learned about in class, or maybe there were a million times you saw things, or maybe it was just kind of the language, I don't know, but when you were in Italy, was there ever an instance that you were surprised about how many things, or whatever you were able to apply from what you learned in class, or something? You were at a job and you're kind of like, you may have felt like this was intimidating, but was there any moment that you were like, wow, I learned this in class, this makes sense, that sort of thing?
Yeah. One of the days we got to work in a storage room where they just had a bunch of artifacts that they had dug up over the last few months, and we walked in and I saw red figure pottery, and I knew how it was made, and I knew what era it was in, and I knew where they did it and how they did it, and all this information just came flooding back to me. And I remember sitting in my art history class and my professor just saying those same things, and it was just amazing how all of a sudden that was important, that was relevant, that I knew that right then.
Awesome. Well, I think we're good. Is there any last thing that you want to mention to the PLC about the, why you're grateful for your internship, or thanks to your scholarship, or, or thanks to your chance in Italy, anything like that?
I'm just really grateful to have the opportunity to do what I love in a real world context. I'm so grateful that I was able to do that with the help of a scholarship, and that I was able to not worry so much about the fiscal problems, but I was able to really dedicate myself to living and working in an environment that I loved.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry that took a few extra minutes to find a spot and stuff.